Yes, y'all. Another Tuesday, another void, another week has gone by. Yes, indeed. We got three very special people in the billions of folks out there in the world right now, tuned in live on the void. As usual, we got Seth Rockets on this one's called Sealed Stills. And his Bandcamp is link is in the description. And welcome again for another episode, or to another episode of the Void, a fellowship of truth, as I call it. All right, let me switch up this camera here real quick. So, oh no, not Joe. What does that even mean? There's so many Joes. Well, not really that many Joes, I guess. Hold on, let me switch this camera. Not that many. All right. I guess I don't really need those on. All right. So remember, you have a live chat. If you can't hear me, or if you got some audio issues or anything like that, let me know. I've had to switch headphones up. I think everything's fine, but I don't know. You guys tell me. Okay, so what do we got going on? Yes, Joe. Who's Joe? Joe is Joe Rogan, right? There was a recent Joe Rogan sort of like endorsement of Bernie Sanders, and that is causing quite a stir, supposedly. I mean, I don't know. Do people really care that much about it? I don't know. Maybe they care. I don't know. I haven't actually seen too much going around as far as, I don't know. I don't care that, I guess, that much about whether or not people really care that much. So maybe I need to find out from you guys what you guys think about that. But it's sort of a weird thing that's happening in, I don't know, I guess you could say establishment media. What does that even mean? I mean, it depends on who you're even talking to anymore, what that even means. Oh, God. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, we have to wade through this swamp of sadness to just get like little tiny stupid points across. So establishment media, meaning like anybody that's making money off media, I guess, basically. I mean, there's like mom and pop little shops on YouTube or whatever out there trying to find the truth and whatever. And we should always support those people. Hey, what's up? Superfan Monique is on tonight. What is up? Yes, so let me know what you think about the crazy world we're living in right now, and how the search for truth within this epistemology, I believe, is what's happening. Epistemological crisis. What's that? That is when we don't really know what we can know. Like what is knowledge anymore? I always bring this up. I will continue to bring this up. There's a meme, or there is a saying going around. What's up, Superfan Chris? Chris is on. What's up? So you guys probably heard this and seen this. Chime in if you have, or if you haven't, whatever. Where there's a meme or something says, in the age of information, ignorance is a choice. And I always say, no, I disagree with that, because you could be presented with a bunch of information that you don't understand and you are still ignorant. So yeah, that does not negate your ignorance. So here we are, bombarded with information. I don't know. Most of us, I believe, you tell me. I mean, not to be a, what's it called? Dang it. It's a word I'm looking for. A sort of not victim, but I don't want to be too susceptible, I guess you could say, to the Dunning-Kruger effect. What is that? Dunning-Kruger effect. This idea that, people on average believe that whatever they do is like above average, even though by definition they're more likely to be average. If does that make sense? So I mean, let's be introspective for a moment and think of ourselves. As far as driving, are you average, or are you above average, or below average? Running, or whatever. I don't know. I mean, really, at the end of the day, by definition, we're probably more likely average than not average. But the general effect, especially the more ignorant well, it depends. There's a point, right? So if you are completely ignorant of a subject, you may just completely be like, look, I'm ignorant of that. Like, I don't know, some super masculine, like, I don't know, farm guy might be like, yeah, I don't know anything about interior design. So yeah, whatever, I'm going to fail that automatic. So there's no, whatever. But then I don't know, maybe some same guy goes to, goes to like a Pantone convention or something like that, and now it knows the new portfolio colors that are happening for this season versus last season and the prior seasons, and then the history upon decades of Pantone colors and Sherwin-Williams color portfolios for spring or some shit. And then so now that they've been introduced to that, it's like, oh wow, this is the expert on interior design, right? So there's Dunning-Kruger effect to the large degree. Now, talk to a designer who's really actually pretty deep into the field, and they may say, well, I don't know, there's some amazing designers out there. I'm just a designer and whatever, I'm nothing too special about me, right? And then that's another side of the Dunning-Kruger effect. That's something called what do you call it? Imposter syndrome, where someone who knows enough about a skill, even though they are skilled, they know enough about the skill that they can't help but be humbled because they know of the greatness that's out there within the depths of the skill, whatever skill that is. I mean, there's very few people who are absolute number one out of a skill. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, that's what. So not to succumb to the Dunning-Kruger effect. What was it? What were we even freaking talking about with the Dunning-Kruger effect? I don't even remember. What's up, Facebook folks? We got 3 Facebook folks. 4 folks on YouTube. By the way, Facebook people, thanks for joining in. We're talking about, oh no, Joe Rogan is, oh yes, that was the Joe Rogan endorsement. Now it's like a semi-endorsement ish of Bernie Sanders. So depending on what side of the political aisle you're on, you're either trying to distance yourself from it or embrace it, or I don't know. It's just an interesting political dynamic that's going on right now. So for Joe Rogan fans out there, we got a whole bunch of folks. By the way, Facebook folks, you can chat live, and I'm going to throw them in. What's up? Hey, what's up, Joel? Thanks for tuning in. Tell me what you think about this current events madness that's going on. By the way, Facebook folks, for whatever reason, the Facebook feed is always lagging behind. So there is a YouTube link that you can follow to see the live show and subscribe, by the way, so you'll know when the live show's on. Sometimes I do a Sunday sesh. I haven't done a Sunday sesh for a while because I don't really have that many subscribers right now. Anyway, and they sort of are impromptu. So if no one tunes in, it's not as fun. So Bernie Sanders gets this endorsement from Joe Rogan, and there's people trying to make Bernie Sanders like shrug it off. But then at the same time, Bernie Sanders and at least his political people, Oh yes, indeed. Kobe died. Definitely a sad time. By the way, thank you for reminding us about that. Indeed, it's been on everybody's mind. And yeah, I mean, anytime someone who's well known and has generally, from what I know, I mean, there's probably some negative stuff out there in this world, but for the most part, did a lot of positive things and worked on a lot of positive stuff. That sucks. That sucks. So, what can we do, right? We could try to strive to be, I guess, like them and try to create a world that would be in some vision, I guess, that they would like to see, I would imagine, right? I mean, they like Kobe. I don't really know that much about what Kobe was doing in his spare time and whatnot, or even I don't follow sports, so I don't even follow his sports time. Shit. But I'm just saying, like, look, he was probably trying to work towards a world that he thought was better, right? That would be better. So, do what you can to work towards that, I would say, right? All right, so let's see what else we've got. We do have some Facebook folks. By the way, like I said, my Facebook feed does update sort of kooky on this computer. Oh, by the way, if anybody out there, hey, what's up? Let me see here. Who else we got? Tarek, what's up, man? All right, tell me more about the Burning Rogan. Heard a bit, another. Okay, I'll tell you, Joe. Tarek said, what hasn't been on people's mind is other people that died as well, as if somehow they didn't matter, which saddens me. As far as Rogan, feeling the burn, yeah, baby, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a big Bernie fan myself. Hey, I miss you too, by the way, Mr. Smagic. Well, hit me up, let's connect. Let's see what's up. I've got a lot of dots. We could connect some dots. I know that sounds sort of weird, but whatever. We'll make some things happen. Let's talk. Oh, I want to talk to you. Hey, we should have an episode. Let's think about this one. Who is sort of the Banksy of cybersecurity? Like, is there like a benevolent hacker out there that's like making a hacking name? I would imagine mainstream establishment media. Again, now that's what we were talking about. What does that even mean? Mainstream establishment media would not want to talk about this person. But I have to believe that in the grand populace out there, there is some special, like, benevolent hacker who will not just not hack for their own gain, but hack for the people, capital P, out there. Yeah, so about the Bernie thing. So a few little points there. Again, we don't want to get into Dunning-Kruger. So I want to hear what you guys think. Let's think honestly and openly about it, not so much just about yes, anonymous. I think anonymous has been the term anonymous has been hijacked, I believe, co-opted by who knows. And plus, we also know, you never know, man. If they did COINTELPRO, they're only more sophisticated now. They probably listening right now, those people. Look, don't worry. The people listening to the Boyd right now are only doing it by accident. They are not part of my army. I'm not assembling an army. Hey, what's up, Michael? What is happening? Welcome back. Very good to have you back. You were very active the last time. What is he saying? Oh, by the way, let's see. What? Yes, other people did die. Yes, as well. So let's also remember that. So I don't want to diminish anybody's death or life, which is sort of weird, right? So it's so polarizing. Everything we've dug trenches. You know what I mean? I think people have tied their political ideas to their actual personal self. So If someone talks about Trump, then suddenly it's like their being is being attacked. Someone says something about Obama or something, they're like, oh my God, how can you say something about Obama? It's like, you know, if people are tied emotionally, themselves, they probably need to do either shrooms or some other psychedelic. I think I mean, you need something that hardcore to break that kind of bond. I believe. You tell me otherwise. Let's talk about it. Tell me otherwise, because I believe you need something like a psychedelic drug to break something that strong. In some of these people, you need something that strong. I'm not telling people to go take psychedelics, but I'm just saying, if had some, we had, you know, some pretty, if we had a little bit more freedom in this country of freedom, then we could, you know, we could have a session and talk about it. All right. So, well, Michael, what'd you say? This is not directly related to the endorsement, but as a former Democrat, I will say that there is a large number of party faithful. You despise Bernie. Oh, they despise, I think. And R.I.P. Kobe for sure. Yes. Who not you? I think I missed something. All right. So Superfan Chris says, agree, Monique. Wait, what did she say? Oh, here she said, sorry, I missed you there, Superfan Monique. I agree that about other people that died too. Yes, indeed. Yeah, but it's become so weird. It's almost like there was an article. God, I can't remember. I should start keeping track of these things. There was an article it was a sort of right wing leaning. I mean, I define that in the majority definition of right wing. And it was sort of a military type magazine that was talking about how little it really should matter about Kobe's death, and that, you know, that soldiers or something should be heralded in his place, and these things like that. And it's like, why, you know, it's like, why does it have to be like, why does it have to be so this or that? You know, why does it have to be such a dig your heels? You know, why do you have to virtue signal so much all the time? So there's these kind of things. I mean, the article gets written and then it gets shared around in right-wing circles and whatever. And then there's the comments, and then, you know, if you dig around. So, I mean, I purposely go around because I'm trying to see what the sentiment's like. And it's just crazy to see other Americans talk about Americans in such a sort of perverse way. I mean, and you see that happening, but in, I guess, more left wing, I guess, quote unquote, left wing circles, but it's more aimed towards the president, probably. I mean, and the super Trump fans, probably. Well, and depends on what you mean by left anymore, also, because what Fox News defines as left is certainly not what the left, quote unquote, the big L left, defines as left. And I don't know if you guys know this. I mean, probably the 3 folks on Facebook and the 4 folks on YouTube may or may not realize that left is not the same as liberal. In fact, right-wing people and actual like left-wing, like progressive, as in would move towards changing something systemic. Like, you know, I don't know. Well, I mean, so Medicare for All is pretty left compared to what is happening now. If someone were to actually address labor and capital relations, that would be very far left. So those leftists who are, you know, class centric or have a class vision, they see a working class versus the capital class, for instance. Those people hate liberals, right? Right-wing people, conservative people who who want to conserve or go back to a tradition, right? Who want to either stop anything from changing now or go backwards to something that existed prior, right? Those folks also hate liberals, because the liberal is this sort of go-between who doesn't really make a move. You know what I mean? It's all about the virtue signal and not about the action, if that makes sense. It's all about that Raytheon has a female CEO, not about what Raytheon does for the majority of their money. I don't even really know what they do, but they're associated with military contracts that end up killing a lot of people, right? All right, so let's see what we got. So I'm not just yapping along. Okay, here we go. Shrooms for the win, of course, indeed. And as who's it called? Ron Paul. One thing I agree with him on. Hey, legalize it all, right? Just as he said, look, if it were legal right now, how many of you guys would go shoot up some heroin? Right? Not very many of you guys would probably do it. So what's the point of the law? And if you really wanted to shoot up some heroin, you'd probably go do it. You'd find your way. So, I mean, come on. Right? So, yeah, we should be able to do some shrooms under whatever setting we find safe and natural, and go do some shrooms. And I bet you would probably see life as something outside of political party and identity and all this crap. I mean, and then now you start sounding like Russell Brand or some crap. But I'm just saying that if you start looking past political bullshit and start looking at what is happening in society, and look at that in conjunction with history, there's some scary shit going on. And our brothers and sisters who are in our country, you know, we are living in a time, and I know it sounds conspiracy theory cuckoo, but we're living in a time that's not unlike the shit you read in the history books, where you're like, oh man, there was like this social upheaval, and then there was these things happening. Oh man, kids were dying in the coal mines, or people were enslaved, or I don't know, something. Oh, the National Guard came and shot striking coal miners or some crap. There was something happening, and now we're on the verge of something, if not already at a point where something's happening. It's probably going to have to do with some kind of totalitarian side, you know, like technocratic governmental takeover is probably going to happen if we're not careful. I don't think we're going to be careful. I think most people are like, we are the dumb animals that we are. We are simply, as humans as a whole, are no smarter than fungus, put it that way. I don't think. Right now, I do not believe, I do not have faith that the humankind, the human species as an organism is smarter. I don't believe right now is smarter, is not more socially awakened, or I mean, not even, more spiritually awakened. We as a species are not, on the whole, not more spiritually woke than fungus, because I think we will consume our own bread to the point of complete exhaustion and think that we could like shoot ourselves off into the galaxy, and then our dying husk of a DNA store of a body will float around motionless and lifeless, thinking that they are the heir to some great expanse when there's nothing, right? So that's what humanity is destined for, unless we change things. Tarek said, no, sir, we busy exporting freedom to the world. Oh, yes, that is something very controversial. Why are we doing some crazy stuff, right? People should take psychedelics. There you go. It's okay to believe in different things and not agree. Yes, it is okay, but you know, sometimes it's like, if you agree in like medicine or don't agree in medicine or things like that, I mean, that's when like crazy stuff starts happening. You know, you don't agree about that viruses exist, or you do agree that viruses exist. And so, I mean, there's like, anything can be brought to an absurdum, to some absurdity. But yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? But I mean, it's starting to get to an absurdity. And it is already. It's not even started. It's done been that way for a while. Okay, all right. Don't be crazy. There's no profit in having a woke society. Well, even wokeness. Now you have to admit, Mr. Smagic, that the wokeness itself can be co-opted and therefore profitable. So yes, less laggy indeed. All right, but I've been messing with this laggy ass Facebook and neglecting my YouTube people. All right, so YouTube, here we go. Let me go jump back onto the wagon. I have fallen off completely. All right, here we go. Dooby doo. All right, so Superfan Chris. So Joe Rogan endorses Bernie. Does that elevate him past Joe Biden? Oh, yeah. Well, I definitely am not a fan of Joe Biden. Oh man, he was on. What was he on? Vice. Man, did you guys see that interview he was on? He was on this Vice interview about. Oh man, it was about black people, I guess. Two black hosts, a man and a woman. And I don't remember exactly. I just remember seeing a clip of it, and it was just awkward. Like they were asking him stuff like, "Oh, why should people think black people or something like that?" And I'm like, man, what a weird question. Number one, about like why, like who even knows black people? Like even the host of the Vice show is the host of the Vice show. Is he the ambassador of blackness? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, who's gonna like? I mean, okay, first of all, he shouldn't even try to answer a question. Like, who would answer a question like? I mean, like, I don't know black people. Like, either you either vibe with me or you don't vibe with me, and I don't care what race you are. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I'm talking about some issues. What issues you want to talk about? Let's talk about some issues. But it just was so cringy. He was talking about like, well, you got to remember, I was a lifeguard in the projects. I was the only one, or one of the first. I'm like, man, what is? Man, I don't know. Look, I don't like Joe Biden, man. I like Bernie, but I mean, the fact that Joe Rogan said, yeah, I would probably vote for Bernie. It just goes to show how dope Bernie is, how good Bernie is. Like people can tell who he is. Like he sat across the table from him, not thinking anything about, Bernie Sanders. He sits across the table from him, and now he's the first go-to. Who would you vote for? Probably Bernie Sanders. I like him the most. He sat across the table. He talked with. I mean, he's able to turn the dude around. I mean, he turned me around. I wasn't really into especially not left-wing politics per se, until Bernie. Really, 2016 is really when I got really weird and obnoxious with my political shit. And now I've toned down. See, I've gone through these fits and like tantrums, like a terrible twos or something, burst through that. And some of us have seen family members go through that, right wing, left wing, blah, blah. It happens. And so I went through one myself, and I'm embarrassed about it. But you know what? I left all my Facebook shit. So if someone wants to go and find one of my stupid, I don't even think I really posted that much stuff, but I mean, I got all weird about it back in the day. Anyway, where are we? Mushrooms. Okay. Michael says it seems like the people that would care about Rogan's endorsement might already be Bernie's fans, or am I wrong about that? Let's see. I think it is about, Monique says, drawing attention to something that could be construed as negative. And by the way, Michael just messenger hit you up. But yeah. Oh, yes, there are Democrats that really hate Bernie. Yes, I think there's a whole party line thing that, I mean, I get really impatient about party line politics because I think that I really truly believe that that kind of shit is fucking up our country and it's making us do and say really stupid crap. And I think that's just really what's going on. People, like, I don't care about the Democratic Party. I don't care about the Republican Party. Like, who are these people? It's just like a bunch of people want to play politics crap. I mean, that's the problem. People are playing politics when it should be about leadership, about running our freaking country. That's what we thought. I mean, right? Isn't that what we're supposed to elect them for? But I don't think that's what these people are doing. A bunch of jerks. All right. So, let's see. What is that? What? Well, oh, Gilded Age 2.0, no doubt. I've seen that. Michael said, too much bread and circuses. Yes, here we go. I don't recall you getting any more weird than normal. Well, yeah. I mean, I think, but you and I think Tarek, I think you and I are very similar. I mean, you put some pretty inflammatory political stuff out there. Sometimes I'm afraid to even like it. It's so inflammatory. But yeah, I agree with Mr. Smagic. Term limits for sure. I think that would fix it. I mean, I don't know if it'll fix it all, but I think it'll fix it a lot. I think a lot. I think there's something to a national lottery. I think there should be something like this. I don't know, maybe come up with some kind of like they got to score some kind of like some score on a civics test or something that has like a set of questions that's open to the public to review. It's almost like a wiki. I don't know, something like that. And then like they have to get like some level of civic awareness that how the government actually works. And then like they enter their name into a lottery and you don't know who it's going to be. So you can't bribe them. And then once they get selected, their accounts are locked and they are not allowed to invest in anything. Everything has to be indexed or whatever. I mean, hopefully labor and capital relations change to a point where we don't even have to worry about that at some point. But even then, that you can, I mean, it would be indexed or something. Like you would be completely disconnected from the world practically as far as financial stuff and whatever. And I think that like there should be a fourth branch of government, that this lottery group of people is almost like the Supreme Court in a way. And it's like this citizens panel or citizens thing. And like they can review old laws that don't make sense. They can make sure that there's no kooky crap going on. Everything's like per the Constitution. And that things are level, that things aren't being like, they can run an anti-corruption campaign, all sorts of stuff like that. I mean, because they're altogether disconnected. And these people also get like special honorary perks. Like you can write off as a business, you can write off free stuff that you give to one of these people. And this is like for life of this person. So as long as they're alive, if you give them free stuff, you can write it off or something. So that will encourage people to lavish this person after they've served their time in serving the public, being disconnected financially from all of their endeavors and having to focus on keeping the Constitution in mind and making sure that all the shenanigans and shit like that stops. I mean, we could just make them our legislators, but I don't know. It's not really that representative. It just becomes like lottery. I don't know. Maybe that's better. Maybe. I don't fucking know. Anyway, that's why I think fourth branch government, possibly. something like that. So it's like a lottery, so you can't bribe them. And then once they're in, you can't bribe them because their shit's locked. But once they're out, like they should get more honors and more awards and more shit bestowed on them than like soldiers and stuff. Like when they walk in and they got this like special badge or some shit, it's like you served time in the fourth branch of government as the like citizen auditor. Yes, I was a citizen auditor. Yes, I served from this time to this time. And then from that point on, you're like citizen auditor or whatever. Come up with some fucking like super title, right? Like president. You know, like when you're president, you're like Mr. President forever. Or like Mr., you know, whatever. Or Miss something, you know, governor. Forever, right? So, or like a judge, I think even when they retire, still honorable or whatever. So anyway, these kind of honorifics, right? We can honor people and we can actually manipulate society by deciding who we honor, right? I mean, that's why we get away with so many wars, because we are sort of in some ways sort of forced conditioned in a lot of ways to not question or not be critical of military people, not necessarily, well, especially the people, but the military in general, because you are sort of de facto picking on the military personnel, which is like sacrosanct, and you cannot do that. And so, I don't know, you end up with this weird, you know, people get triggered and all that stuff. All right. What else we got? What do we got going on? Term limits, baby. Oh yeah, Monique says they don't want Bernie to change the ongoing dynamic. That's true. Lower the salaries. Yeah, well, you know, it's sort of expensive in DC, but I don't know. Yes, indeed, facts do get inflammatory sometimes. Congressional draft, I think for the Citizens Audit Board, it should be something like a draft. Big money out of politics will go a long way fixing the problem. Yes, indeed, the plutocracy. Citizens United, yeah, that sold off our democracy, basically. And even then, democracy, I mean, you can, if you have enough money and you have control of the means of mass communication, you can actually propagandize the world and actually, you know, you could sway a democracy one way or another. Edward Bernays wrote the book Propaganda back in the 30s. Used Sigmund Freud, his uncle's psychological stuff, whatever, teachings, learnings, musings, to manipulate people. Wrote the book on it. Things, including propaganda, have only gotten more and more sophisticated over time. There will be a time where we're entering the deep fake period. I mean, video can be faked, audio can be faked. I mean, it would take like some high level of forensic analysis to see if something's been adulterated now. Stuff you don't even have to like be super pro level to like get some of this access to some of this stuff and be able to deep fake shit. So we are entering crisis mode. So I don't know. We'll have to see how people get manipulated. This show is an attempt to talk through the manipulation, to try to reach each other through the static, through the matrix, and try to just, like, I don't know, just unlock our brothers and sisters from the pods. I mean, really, what is it? It's not like there is something different about looking at the world from an issues standpoint instead of a political standpoint, and not succumbing to this idea that it's a game, that it's like a team sport or some shit. You know what I mean? It's like, look, no. I mean, why does anybody even know the names of half of these people? Like, it should just be like this representative from California is saying some shit. What? Those guys need to change their rep or something. I mean, some of these people, without term limits, these people have been fixtures in Congress. I mean, they have become tied to contracts with lobbyists or made through lobbyists and whatever, and like just bribes and I don't know. I don't know 100% what the solution is, but there are some things we could do to change the world. First is, I believe if they start a business, eventually turn it into a cooperative. Make it so that your employees have a way to own a piece of the business as it grows. Now, not right when you hire them. It's like over time, like after they've worked there for like 5 years or something, or 10 years. I mean, if your business is going that long and it's growing and it's like doing well and you have employees and they're part of the reason why it's growing, all you have to do to make it into a cooperative is basically give them a way to earn equity or ownership or some kind of share in the business. So as it grows, they get a piece of it. I mean, over time, like I said, if somebody's like a lazy schmuck, fire their ass, get rid of them. Don't let them like suck off your clock, right? Come on. It's not, don't get a dirty mind. Say suck off your clock, right? I mean, because that ends up being what ends up happening, right? You have someone who's probably getting paid the least that someone could get away with paying for the level of service. So someone's probably giving a level of service that's, at least to par with that, possibly, But anyway, just some thoughts on some of these things. Yes, indeed. Fuck Citizens United. Dale, what is up, Dale? Welcome back. Sort of like municipalities and firemen and cops. Well, yeah, municipalities, firemen, cops. I mean, these are collective organizations. I think that those are honorable and needed for the most part. Positions, I mean, depends. See, it's hard with the police, it becomes tricky because a lot of things, I mean, the formation of it, but then also the execution of the tactics, etc. I don't know, it gets problematic. Some police organizations are trying to do better, others not so much. But I hope that they all try to do better. All right, so Tarek says they have employee stock purchase plans. Some do, which would be good. Why would figuring out a way to make a co-op more equitable over time be any more difficult than that? Wow, I didn't even finish a complete thought with that. Municipal employees are hollowing out their cities when they retire. Yeah, well, I mean, so the question of retirement benefits, that's a question. Is that a promise that was made to the employees at their agreed upon employment time? I mean, as part of their employment package. When you say that's hollowing out the city, well, I mean, why isn't the city budgeting for that? When they wrote the budgets for those city employees and their retirement plan, what went into effect? You know what I mean? So I think there's a lot to be considered first before we can sort of make a major claim to that degree. But also, if we end up looking at how wage and labor relations work, capital and labor relations work, that prospect of retirement might not be so crazy after all. And also the tax revenue available to the city might not be so limited. You see, there's a reason why there's so little money circulating. And that's because it's in the hands of so few. That's really what it is, because they don't spend it. They only spend it on a few things for themselves, and then they basically go hoard it off somewhere else. All right, so Michael says, check that out. Mondragon consists of 102 individual cooperatives united in a federation called, oh yeah, Mondragon Cooperative. Yeah, it's like the largest one that's been around for a long time. It's also cooperative. Allen Park, Michigan had to drop their charter as a result. It's not an uncommon problem. No doubt, that's true. But we also have to look at this. You know, we're trying to run a municipality within a capitalist ecosystem. You know what I mean? Also, we have to look at municipal taxation and how that's done and whether that's really done effectively. So, you know, it's looking at Michigan again with the way that the capitalist enterprise, like for instance, Allen Park was probably at some point a factory town, and that town had some kind of inflow of capital that was in existence during the time of the employee benefit package and agreement, or whenever they got hired, and then that capital influx changed. Right now, one question would be, how many people made the decision? Based on whose decision was it to close the factory? Right. And if we lived in a paradigm where the more workers you have, the more democratic control they have of the workplace, then there's a chance that they would not have closed down the factory. Right. And also that they, even if they did, then they would have been able to take dividend income off of the profit share after having moved that factory out. So there would still be an income, either capital retention through sale of shares back to the company or to the market, right? So there would be capital within Allen Park, or there would be dividend income, at least for the period of time in which the employees served the company, right? So if Allen Park was built on a 30-year long factory operation, and then they wanted to close the factory and move it, well, then there's some employees that would have 30 years worth of equity that they would either retain dividends from every quarter for quarterly profit, which should go up, because why are they moving the factory? Right? I mean, you see what I mean? So things would change if we had a different dynamic. Allen Park would be in a different position. You see what I'm saying? There would be retention of capital. There would also be dividend capital coming in as revenue source. So even a closure of a factory would at least be a soft transition out, as opposed, and plus with that capital influx after the factory moved and those people got cashed out of their equity, either got cashed out of their equity or retained dividends, if they cashed out, they would have capital infusion to then start new enterprise, where they don't get that, right? They may get a severance, but it's not necessarily a share of equity, right? Because equity, as we know, why is it so important? Because we see CEO compensation often done in shares. Why is that so important? Well, as shares go up, that whole portfolio multiplies times the share value, right? So the more shares you have, the more money you have just when the stock goes up in value. So employees who built that company, if you have 30,000 employees, you can't possibly think that you yourself have contributed as much as the 30,000, right? And so that you should be able to pay them the least amount that you could rent their bodies for the tasks that they have. They have to enter into an agreement with somebody or start their own business, right? And if they don't have resources or don't know how to start a business or various other factors, maybe they suck at business, then they have to enter into exploitation, right? So the whatever wage, even if it's a high wage, is still skewed in a deflationary way. It's a artificially devalued sum. So even if you're getting paid $500,000 a year, you probably should be getting paid more if everyone else was getting paid more. You see what I'm saying? if everyone else was getting paid according to whether or not they even wanted to go and get paid by somebody. Maybe they don't want to work for somebody. They would rather go till the field and go live off their carrots and go eat the rabbits that eat the carrots and do that all day. They'd rather just do that and not go do any of this other shit. Don't want to go to school, nothing. I'd rather eat rabbits and carrots. Done. Go fishing. I don't know. Do whatever else it takes to live off rabbits and carrots, right? And like, what's it called? I mean, there's likely some other way to also, I mean, do something other than simply survive on the land, but it depends on how integrated the land is with the rest of society, I guess you could say. All right, so let's see. Well, we got some things here. Dale says it was a factory town. Okay, so Superfan Chris says, okay, so how do we get started? Dale Lynn says, like Blockbuster. I'm not sure like what that means. Superfan Kate, what's up? Welcome to the party. Better late than never. But yes, I don't even know what we're talking about. Talking about a million things. Anyway, Bernie Sanders, that was the whole thing. Yeah, so Bernie Sanders gets the endorsement from Joe Rogan, and people are mad and telling him to like moveon.org and these quote unquote left wing. See, they're really, a lot of these people are liberal organizations, not left wing organizations, and they really are virtue signaling about, like, for instance, they're not really out there to moveon.org is not out there pushing for like a reevaluation of labor and capital relations. Like they aren't. They are for things to remain the way they are. They are like the Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi kind of Democrat kind of thing. You know what I mean? They get the money from the pharma. They get the money from the corporations. They virtue signal about some things that they don't like about the right wing. They do the impeachment thing. They could impeach Trump on actual criminal charges, like installing his family into the government, and any of the nepotism charges or the emoluments clause for grifting the American people with his outings, and then also hosting dignitaries and other government affairs in his own properties for his own profit. Those things are illegal. Did they choose those? No, they didn't. Why? It's because it's a game. It's a game. Nancy Pelosi, the Chuck Schumers, all of these people are more relevant. They're more relevant when there's a Trump around. But as soon as there's Bernie Sanders around, now they become evil. Now it's the new crop of young people who are coming through that aren't like them. Anybody that's not like them is getting elected, like the AOCs, the Ilhan Omars or whatever. And there's some guy out of California. I don't know. He's like some socialist guy. Like he's a socialist. He says so. Ran on the socialist ticket or something, and he won. Or something, I think. I don't remember. That might have been a different race. Anyway, look, it's just there. It's a game, but that's the thing. There's the party line talk is obscuring all of that. All that couldn't be seen is being obscured on purpose with this party line crap. And that's what's going on. And so, and those guys want to distance. They want a virtue signal and try to say that it would be bad to have an endorsement of Bernie Sanders and that he should disavow the endorsement. And then, of course, people like Ben Shapiro and them are like, well, he didn't really endorse him, or I don't know exactly what Ben Shapiro said, but he's whatever. I'm sure he's disappointed that he likes Bernie Sanders. I don't know if he would go back on his show, but he probably would, just because it would own the libs, I guess. All right. So Dale Lynn said you mentioned living off the land. What about living off urban farming? Urban farming, I think it's a great idea. I think there should be um, municipal. I mean, PETA and friends, and I don't know if we are socially awoke enough for this, but I mean, we could do hydroponics parks, but I was thinking aquaponics parks. We could have freshwater prawn of some sort, probably something from Indonesia. I don't know. There's some giant prawn out there somewhere that we could probably have some type of mass breeding system to basically farm that and like some fish, right? So it could be regional fish. Like if you're like in the northwest or northeast, it could be salmon and trout and cold water fish, perch, stuff like that. And then as you come further south, you have like white bass or striped bass, things like that. And then you get further south, tilapia, whatever else. I don't know, whatever people want to grow in the freaking municipal aquaponics park. I bet people would volunteer to take care of the fish and the shrimp and the plants, and it would just be like the food bank. It would be the food bank. You wouldn't have to get canned food. It would just be this ongoing supply of food, and it could rerun with solar panels, and it just uses very little water, and it just has to be tended to, and it could produce tons of food. Now, of course, agribusiness and the agri lobby will fight it. So, you can't, you have to be able to do it without their support and around them and around their blocks, because they will try to block that. But I think something like that, because it doesn't use a lot of land and you can build up with it, and you can build down with the pools and stuff for the housing the fish and stuff, or you can make whole parks out of it, and have terraces and different ways to handle basically the aquaponics systems for the plants. So I'm a big proponent of aquaponics because of the feedback loop of the fish and the plants, and basically you just have to feed the fish and they feed the plants, and it just all works, right? So anyway, so where are we going? Oh, urban farming. Yep, there's some happening in our backyard. And then Superfan Chris says political theater. So we have a couple conversations intertwined. Actually, the municipal, I was saying for the landing, they should put a municipal aquaponics park right there. Have a huge, I mean, we could have a rotating garden, like of different crops throughout the year. Some of it in a greenhouse, some of it in, just out in the open. Like I said, people would probably volunteer to tend it. I mean, it would be cool. People maybe would come over there to buy the produce from it. I don't know. Maybe if it looks awesome and is cool, people would drive from places to come here, and they would spend their money in Jacksonville. What an idea, All right, Dale says she brings in produce from local farms and brings them to food deserts, and they use aquaponics here in Jacks. Awesome. See, could already have that happening. Would really like to meet her. We missed the meeting. Community garden in Springfield. Yes. So, yeah, I heard about the one happening in Springfield. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm all about community gardens. So 100%. I'm just saying that it would be cool if a municipality or HOA or whatever, what if there was HOA gardens? So instead of these stupid retention ponds that are basically worthless, what if you had like a pond with fish in it, and that just, you took a pump that just circulated water through this aquaponics, irrigation system, and you grew a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, who knows? Either someone in the HOA would do it, or the HOA could pay somebody to go around and manage these little plots, and they would, I mean, the thing about aquaponics and hydroponics as well, But the thing about it is the density. You can, if you know, you can pack a lot of plants and fish and whatever in one little area. So like even one city block can produce. You could build upwards. You know what I mean? So if you had vertical grow space, then you can, I don't even know, you could produce a lot in one city block. You know, it just becomes an issue of how do you manage something that way. But with the right equipment, et cetera, it's not a big deal. All right, what else we got going on? Monique said, I had an aquaponic system, grew strawberries, tomatoes. Oh, look at that. That's awesome. See, Kate says they have made any decision what they're doing with the landing. Oh, yes, I totally volunteer to tend some local. See, we already have volunteers to tend the local aquaponics. I mean, people would go there. People would go there to catch fresh fish. They'd want to go wander around and maybe you pay per pound, you know, pick your own tomatoes. I mean, why not? It would be cool, right? I think it'd be cool. Why not? What? And then have, like, I don't know, the ones that nobody wants. You pull them out and give them away for free to homeless people or something. I mean, it would be a cool investment. I don't even think it would cost that much. I mean, maybe we just need to come up with a proposal. Superfan Chris, we just need to come up with a proposal. Maybe that's all it takes. All this bitching and moaning. If we come up with a proposal, figure out where the money's coming from, where we're going to put it. Maybe there's going to be an aquaponics park somewhere in Jacksonville. All right, let's see. Superfan Chris said, landing's future in the hands of one Mayor Curry and his quote-unquote crew. We have no say-so. Ooh. Monique says, would it make them money? Question mark. That would be a selfless gesture. What are the odds? Dale says, it all starts with the consumer, whether American automobiles or Blockbuster videos or urban gardens. The consumer is the master. I've seen local grown produce go to waste. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it depends on a lot of things. I mean, sometimes you like when GM moves a factory from Detroit to Mexico, you know, there's people that still will buy GM because they believe GM's an American company and want to support American. You see what I mean? So yeah, the customer's king, and they could boycott GM from moving out of Detroit. But I mean, remember, we are atomized, individualistic Americans. We don't see the people in Detroit as our brothers. We just see them as poor schlubs that should have seen the, you know, writing on the wall or something like that. It doesn't matter that they might have worked there 20 years and, you know, their dad worked there and blah, blah, blah. And they helped build the company to where it is now. It's, you know, there's the attitude of a lot of people in our society that's simply that way. And so we are living with the consequences of that. So there's more to it, I think, than just consumer choice, because consumer choice can also be manipulated through propaganda. You know, there was you know, let me show you, I'll tell you how here's the case study of propaganda, how strong it is, right? There was a major cultural, you know, what is it? Resistance to women smoking a long time ago in the early 1900s, right? In the 1930s, after Ed Bernays got hold of the campaigns to get people to smoke, women started smoking, right? And he played to their core sort of visceral wants as humans, right? Their want to have attention, their want for power, things like that, and got through all of the cultural stigmas and religious stigmas and all sorts of stigmas and got women to smoke. And not all women, of course, but a lot of women started. I mean, it became a norm. It's like a normal thing, right? And so uh, consumers can be made, consumers can be manufactured, you know what I mean, and swayed one way or another. Um, you know, sometimes it's about distribution too. You know, sometimes people don't want to be the last person to take the cookie, so then the cookie stays on the tray and goes in the trash because nobody wanted to take the last one. You know, and then some, you know, you get the one person is, oh, screw it. If it's going in the trash, I'll take it, you know. But sometimes the fruit rots on the vine before someone does that. Also, we are living in a material reality where people don't really have time for social things. Like if we had a system where, I keep harping on about this, if we had cooperatives instead of the capitalist corporate hierarchical system, if we had cooperatives, then people, after they worked 10 years or 20 years, they would have dividend income, or they would have shares that they could cash out and have some kind of money that they could sort of sit on or use to start a new venture or do something, right? And maybe buy some of their time back and actually participate in stuff like the community garden and, you know, and actually consume the stuff. All right. Here we go. Dale says farms and gardens exist, the grants exist, the bus exists, and the consumers need to be educated. Monique says consumer being the masses, but they do not understand their power. No, the masses, there's no mass consciousness. No, everybody thinks that it's on purpose, of course. This notion that there's this sort of hierarchical like money race or something is manufactured for us to bicker among each other and not realize that we are really one group of people. All right. Kate says we need to do better on waste of produce. I use something called Misfits Market. They sell you the ugly fruit stores don't want for way less, still delicious. Monique says the power in being united. Yes. I love the ideals of the social engineer, Jacques Fresco. Oh, yes, Jacques Fresco, I remember. Well, I mean, I don't know. Some of that stuff, I always wonder, you know, Jacques Fresco, I think he was behind some of the zeitgeist stuff with resource-based economics or something to that degree. But it always goes, always boils down to who's going to fix the sewers when it's messed up. Maybe someone would raise their hand and say, I'll fix the sewers for everybody, but somebody's probably going to get paid something extra or done something different to go fix unclog the sewer. Maybe not. I don't know. Monique says the power of being a unit. Indeed. I mean, that's where the labor struggle was. That's why it was so powerful and had to be crushed, by the way. The Powell Papers, I think in 77 or 71, I believe. Talked a little bit about that. All right. Kate Crowley. Ooh, I've read about Jacques Fresco. Okay, here we go. Superfan Krish. We sure don't understand our power. Yes. Check out the Venus. Yes, the Venus Project resource-based thing. Consumers are powerful, but you're right. Don't realize our power, or we're told what we like. It's really up to us, genius marketers, world to an extent. Conspiracy theory. Well, I mean, so that's the thing is we live in a paradigm where, you know, your reality is curated, right? So the movies that you see, the messages that are in there subliminally or overtly, they're all curated. They're approved or not. If they're not approved, you just don't see it. So things like this, of course, me mouthing off and saying my stupid shit and asking for You know, if anyone happens to know the Banksy or the benevolent hacker out there, you know, things like that. Of course, don't name them here because in case they watch. And so what's the point of me asking? I don't know. If there's somebody out there, just think about them, I guess. Tell them to watch the show. But anyway, I'm telling you, there's a point when there's going to be the benevolent hacker connects with someone who's great at doing shit in like IRL, and there will be an unstoppable force. I predict this. Now, I'm not forming it, NSA. Not forming it, nor do I know of it. I'm simply writing a novel that is based upon this idea, I guess. There you go. That's the plot. So everyone, it's a group writing project. So you guys can all help chip into the plot. It hasn't started yet. That's just the basic plot. We got to figure out how it opens, I guess, or I don't know. How do you write a novel? However you start. If anyone has any experience writing a novel, think about that kind of stuff. But anyway, that's my cover for don't for not trying to incite the grand duo of the benevolent hacker and the IRL ninja. IRL meaning in real life, by the way, for you not quite as nerdy people. All right. Kate says, if they're out there, it would be cool if my student loans went away. Just saying. No doubt. Yeah. I mean, probably the benevolent hacker would find a way to just crash the whole money system. And then who knows? I don't know what would happen after that. I mean, is that benevolent? Probably. It would force humanity to come together. And that's the thing. It would. A lot of people think it would be like this crazy anarchy. I don't think so. I think people will come together. I think people are naturally good. I think people will band together and protect themselves from idiots. I believe, especially the armed populace that we have. I just have a feeling, and people will do it because of martyrdom and virtue signaling. I'll just say for that sake. Not even for the actual idea that humans are good by nature, and they'll do it to a virtue signal. I think when money completely is wiped out, the question becomes, does JEA still run? Do people still do their thing? Like, what happens if money ceased to exist? Like, it's just the markets are just. The super hacker network just goes kaboom, drops something to where all numbers on all like bank records just turn into X's, and there's no backup, and all the backups are destroyed. Now what? I don't know. I think man, they need to hurry up and do something like that. Or, something crazy needs to start happening. I think something crazy is going to happen. I think, you already got the suicide epidemic. It's not, you are only a couple moments or motions away, or a couple podcasts away, or a couple stupid, presidential addresses away, or a couple somebody said some stupid shit on the internet or on the TV or on the whatever the fuck, it doesn't matter. And someone's going to be like, you know what, fuck it. I'm just going to go do some kind of shit. I'm going to put my body on the gears of the machine. And at least when I'm going out taking this gears of the machine with me. It's not that far. We already have the suicide epidemic. It's almost like oh, that's just the thing that's happening. I don't know. Maybe self-help. Can you afford it? Oh, well, I heard there's a suicide epidemic. That's what's going on right now. So there's going to be a point where people are like, you know what, shit, I don't got nothing to lose. I might as well do some crazy shit. The thing is, you can't really talk about the crazy shit, because then if someone does it, then it's like, oh, well, James said some crazy shit And like they must have heard it. Oh, he heard it, and then he did crazy shit. Oh, it's James's fault. See, and then now I can't say more crazy shit, and then inspire more people. So they shut it off at ASAP. So there's got to be a way to covertly. I'm just kidding. Anyway, I mean, it's just some crazy shit's gonna happen. Eventually, some crazy shit. Someone's gonna be like, I don't got nothing to lose. Might as well do some crazy shit. And it's like some Fight Club, Tyler Durden shit, Project Mayhem shit's gonna start popping off. That'll be, I don't know. I don't want to say that it would be fun, because I don't think I would have fun. I don't know how to deal with that. Like, I don't think I would have fun, but I am pretty resourceful and I'm pretty handy. So I think people would be, trying to hang out and stuff. But all right, so here we go. A couple more questions, or things, and then we'll probably bounce out. We all started a garden in his novel. I think that that's a good way to start. So we're at the community garden talking about the labor struggle, right? If we had a cashless society, things would still be able to run. Why not? It should still be able to run, but then it would be sort of like, well, you still paying your JEA bill, or like who's paying for what, and like how would it could be a barter system. I mean, but that's the thing, is money is supposed to be in lieu of barter. It's basically bartering, but through the vector of money. Anyway, but then there's financial instruments that sort of magnify things that's not really bartering. All right, people can also use their natural skills to contribute to society, not worry about having to do it for a set amount of hours just to earn money to live. See, oh no, now you're talking like a communist. Actually, that's sort of, I mean, Karl Marx envisioned a stateless, classless society where everyone just sort of works together for the good of humanity. I mean, of course, it's utopian and stuff, but I mean, that's how people lived. I mean, indigenous societies were that way. People living out west, striking it out, in a little town. You had everyone would play a little role in the town. That is basically a commune. That's communism. So, you can't have like authoritarian, totalitarian control if you don't have a state, right? So a stateless society is anarchy. So, I mean, I'm not saying that, wait, who was even saying that? Cashless. If we weren't worrying about, I'm not saying Chris is necessarily a Marxist, but if we didn't have to worry about eking a living with every minute of our breath, then we would have time to do stuff. Like I just remember, I saw the article, I think I mentioned before. It was on LinkedIn. It was Wounded Warrior Project, some retired guy making free canes for veterans who were hurt. So you can get it, and it's making them from old Christmas trees. So what would you do with your time if you had your time back? If you had a bunch of time and you didn't have to spend it all trying to live, what would you do with your time? So I am convinced that there are people out there that would do things for free simply because that's what they want to do in their hearts, and that's what they want to wake up and they want to do it and they feel good about it, and that's what they want to do. The dude wants to make canes. If he has time, which he does, to make canes and still live, that's what he's doing. I think more and more people, if they had that capacity, would do more and more for each other. And the society would change. Culture would change. We live in a paradigm where everything is alienated due to capitalism, because everyone is a competitor against each other. Even family members are competitors. And everything is seen as a hierarchical system, as opposed to a cooperative system. It's just, the American dream, what is it? Go start your own business. It's escape exploitation by creating exploitation. That's what the American dream is. So like maybe we should have a different dream. And I think there's a way that we could do that. But anyway, Michael says it would be amazing, but would probably take a serious disaster, a long recovery before we got there. Too many powerful people invest in the current system. Yeah, that's definitely true. But remember, where does their power come from? If their money was all X's and zeros, are they still powerful if they don't have money? What makes them powerful? Without the control of their money, what makes them powerful? If they don't have any more money, does it still, I don't know, do the guards still guard them? I don't know. Let's talk about it. I don't know. Dale Lynn, what if we began the revolution without violence, but with cooperation? There is a way to do that. There is a way. Michael says, wonder why 7 to 10 suicides in this country are white men as well. Maybe it just is. Well, white men probably, I don't know. It's that statistic. I mean, you'd have to look at it in as, composition of society and that kind of stuff. But yeah, there are commentaries, including I can see the point that that alienation due to capitalism is also specifically affecting young white males, and including old white males, because, to be honest, they are coming from a world where they have a different worldview. I think there's a lot of baggage that comes around. I mean, I'm white enough. Look, I'm white passing, right? I'm as white as Obama is, but nobody knows what that means, right? And so I've lived, with a racist father, been around racist people and been included in racist stuff because I'm white enough, right? Racist family. I'm on the excursion with them. They're just as racist with me there or with me not there, because I'm white for all intents and purposes, right? So I get to hear sort of the point of view, or at least what I was exposed to, of like, some of the stuff that white people don't talk about in front of their non-white friends, and it's like, oh no, I'm letting the cat out of the bag. And I mean, I don't know. People know about this, but they sort of don't know about it. It's weird. So there's dealing with that. There's a lot of weird personification of guilt and different weird things that are going on with some of these white guys. I don't know. I don't get it personally, but I don't take things personal the same way some people do. But I don't know what's going on with the white guys. But I've seen some things with about that. Read some articles. I don't really know what to think either way. All right. So Michael says, I think it's possible, just not probable. Correlation may not be causation. White men are a majority of society. Yeah, I mean, that's why I was thinking about composition and all that kind of stuff. The nonviolent revolution, that's the Jesus model. Well, okay, so yes, so the Jesus MLK model, of course, they're doing it through. There's ways to. So you could do it through protest and stuff like that. I think you can make some moves, but it's. I think there's a grassroots way of doing it, but there's also legislative and tax. It starts getting sort of boring When we start talking about the nonviolent revolution, I mean, now we're talking about like using tax schedules that favor cooperatives over corporations. Things like just outlawing wage slavery, basically, or instituting the commons and allowing people to have win a lottery if they want to go live in the commons or something like that. I mean, there's different things that could create the nonviolent revolution. Like, for instance, investing in cooperatives, starting cooperatives, start a business and create it and turn it into a cooperative. Give 80% of it to your employees. Keep 20%. I don't know. Figure something out. Do that. That would revolutionize society. I've said it before. If someone's giving to some charitable organization, especially somebody's foundation, like the Clinton Foundation or the Trump Foundation or anybody's foundation, they're not really helping. I think they instead of they are those foundations. I mean, and I know some of them might try to do some good or say they do or really act benevolent, but unless they're creating cooperatives or unless they are doing something to really change labor and capital relations, then they're not really changing society. Like, they are the shit sweeper behind the horse. Instead of letting the horse go and roam in the field, they are all too happy to keep the horse on the street and just to shovel the shit, because that makes them special and they get to make money and whatever. So that's the way I see it. I think that's part of the revolution, is to create cooperatives, to support urban gardening, to do stuff like major endeavors like municipal aquaponics park that's available, that's collectively supported and supports the collective. Stuff like that. Those are, with necessities. Or if you had like a cooperative hospital, things like that, where the doctors owned the hospital, and everybody in it owned parts of I mean, everybody, including the janitor, could own, after a period of time, they own a piece of that hospital. That kind of stuff would change the dynamics of how the place operated. And people who were working for a long time in some enterprise can leave there with either dividend income or capital from the shares, and they may go volunteer at the hospital, right? They may go volunteer their time to go do all sorts of stuff. So prices in general would probably drop, because now people are competing with free stuff. You can go to the free cooperative nurse practitioner or something during certain hours, maybe, or whatever. I don't know. People would probably just do it if they had time. But some people would be fine paying for it, and they'll go to a pay place, or maybe they get it through the government, which I believe that I mean, even then, people could still go through could still volunteer with the government to do medical stuff, to help out. And so whatever, there's different ways that the revolution could start, and it could start by us looking at bigger picture things. It's like we could march on Washington and think we did something, but if you start a cooperative, or you start a foundation that invests and creates cooperatives. Imagine if there was something like the Duval Construction Workers Cooperative, and instead of fighting for low wages and getting screwed by a contractor or something, you could work for the cooperative, and you could hire the cooperative to change your toilet, and it's probably just as good as, just as the same price or cheaper than going to a normal plumber. Now, some of those guys may not like that, and they might go out of business. Well, they can join the cooperative, or they can create their own cooperative enterprise. The big guys would definitely not like the cooperative, because there's going to be better people, because you're actually getting paid a lot more to work at the cooperative, because you don't have to share it with shareholders and stuff the same way. because you are a shareholder after you've worked there for a while. And it would, why? And you could say, well, why hasn't someone done this? Well, because you stand to make so much more money as the owner of a corporation as opposed to a cooperative, which you don't really stand to make that much money because you're about to give it to your employees. You basically created this thing. It's like having a kid, you like grow the thing and you nurture it, and now it's like doing its own thing. It can make its own money and run its own thing. All right, now give it away. Like, you don't get to own that, right? That's sort of a cooperative. If you were doing that, that's how you start the revolution. I know it sounds boring. It's how you do it. By doing that, by creating a change in labor and capital relations, we will create a ripple effect in social change. Watch. Don't believe me, just watch. Because if you're doing that, you're already able to instill social change and social consciousness to the participants within the cooperative. And then the cooperative, of course, is going to spread their, what's it called? They will try to spread the word of the cooperative, etc. So I think, and then people would just be more class conscious, and labor and capital relations could be changing. If you have more time, then you can be part of politics more often. There's just so much that would change if you had your time back. Think about how much would change between you and your family if you had more time. So part of the key to why this is so important is because the human in our society, the actual participants in our society, will be able to participate in society more freely than these sort of meager minutes that we end up filling with social media anyway, because we are desperately in need for social interaction that we don't generally get from the places that we go to socialize, oddly enough. All right, so we missed some things. All right, urban gardening model depends on how far it goes. Military industrial complex from Michael. Kate Dale, teach me your ways of urban gardening. I have murdered everything. Tried to grow in Florida, too hot for my herb garden. I did get one whole pepper a couple years ago. Well, yes, it can be tricky to grow things here. Superfan Chris Dale, can you set up another meeting about the veggie bus? Why grow it yourself when you can sell it instead? I don't know. Michael, back on the white dude thing. It's also because we're losing our country's strain of propaganda on the right, and too many are buying it. Well, I was sort of hinting at that because there is a strain, or there is a sort of a marbling through our country, through our society, which sort of promises white boys and white men sort of this pedestal or this sort of thing. I don't know. It's just something like, it's sort of like this idealized world. And I've heard it talked about within certain circles. And this idea of losing their country or not being, worthy of some standard because they're not superior to the people that they're supposedly superior to, can mess them up, and I guess it makes them depressed. So yeah, I mean, look, people's conditioning has been conditioned, so it's I don't know. There's some crazy shit out there. I would imagine that would make one depressed. We just need to watch the rising white nationalists. There's definitely white nationalists out there running around. But yes, that is definitely a real thing, and they have also infiltrated law enforcement. Back in 2006, FBI did a study about it, said they are infiltrating law enforcement. Did your local law enforcement address that within, I don't know, from back then till now, in the last 14 years or so? I don't know. All right, Dale says, I leave for Nashville. The young lady close up her veggie bus on next Tuesday. just before the boy goes live at the Hyperion. Okay, so she's going to be at the Hyperion on Tuesday. Very good. Michael says, I hope that you're all correct. I just think if it was deep as we're talking about tonight, I mean, a real revolution in the whole paradigm, then there would have to be issues regardless of how it started. Well, here's the thing. There would be people that would fight against that paradigm shift. The workers' cooperatives, there would probably be arsons. There would probably be the capitalists and their sycophants, their supporters would create up to and including armed conflict. I pretty much can guarantee that. So yeah, what would start as a shift? You see what I mean? If that makes sense. Okay, and Michael says, hope I'm wrong. It happens constantly. About being wrong. Well, I mean, we're always wrong sometime, right? Monique says they are not infiltrating law enforcement. They have been there. Yes, they have been there. Absolutely, they've been there. So that's the more scary thing, is that there was even a actual push, like a full-on push to infiltrate in 06. So that's the even scarier parts, because they've always been there. Michael says, absolutely, Monique, military as well. I saw when I was in the Air Force. Yes, so military, I mean, there's a bunch of military people I saw online trying to tell me that it didn't exist. I thought I could tell that they're lying to my face. I hate that when people lie to my face like that. That's pretty lame. All right, so we've been going on hour and a half. So I think I'm going to turn on this Seprock Beats, and that's going to tell us that it is that time. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to support on Patreon. I think I only have one Patreon supporter, who is Superfan Chris, by the way. So if you want to support the boy, by the way, my computer may stop working at any time because Windows 7 is no longer supported, and who knows what's going to happen. So if anybody has an extra computer that they'd like to donate to the boy podcast, send it my way. PM me, and we'll make it work out. But until next time, thank you so much for tuning in. And Kate said, law enforcement is full of insecure men looking for power, and that's the only way they can find it. Ooh, that is very true. To some extent, women as well. But yes, that's probably, that's true as well. Yes, indeed. Monique says women are capable of just as much pettiness, if not more so. There you go. I mean, look, the thing is, I think Kate has an extra computer. I need it. This computer may die at any moment. What was I going to say? Yes, maybe we should talk about the police and whether or not they're actually supposed to be public servants, or whether or not they believe they're public servants. How about that? All right, so that'll be for next time. Thank you all for joining. Great conversation. Sorry I neglected to chat a couple times. But until next time, I will sign out, and you will be left with Seprock Beats. And I will talk to you all later. Right.